on our list of speakers today. Very excited to introduce Mrs. Jerusha Shalini, the founding member and principal architect at Capstone Chennai, with over 18 years of professional experience in her project. The Christhood School project was declared Chennai's #1 school in campus architecture and design in Education World Grand Jury Award 2020-2021. So join me, ladies and gentlemen, in welcoming Jerusha Shalini onto the stage.
The psalmist says, "Many, O Lord, my God, are the wonders you have done. Things you have planned for us, no one can recount to you. Were I to speak and tell of them, they would be too many to declare. The Lord is so good. His love endures forever. May the name of the Lord alone be praised today. And I'm praying that God would hide me behind the cross and He alone would be lifted and glorified. I stand here just because of God's amazing grace and unending, unmerited favor upon my life. And the story that I share is what the master architect has been writing through my life. I'm so glad God chose me to be His child very early in life, a masterpiece suitable for His use, broken that I might be blessed. Being an architect, it is quite natural for me to relate everything in life to a building. And so here goes my interpretation of the PI principle. Knowing the Lord and having Him as my strong foundation has helped me to have a grip on understanding His divine purposes for my life. Integrity and excellence, I would say, are the pillars that help you fulfill your purpose. On Christ, the solid rock, I stand. No other ground I know is good for me to stand. All other ground is sinking sand. With this image, I would like to share how God set the foundation for my life. Well, there is a call for each one of us to be salt and light in the marketplace. He wants us to be a lighthouse or a signpost. And I go back to the architectural relationship. A skyscraper has very deep foundation which no one sees. People who see the skyscraper for the first time only see what is above the ground. They don't get to see what goes below the ground. But only if the foundations are strong enough can this ever be built. Our relationship with God matures each and every time we walk closely hand in hand with Him. When you experience Him every day of your life, where He makes you stronger to withstand the winds and the earthquakes. That's the preparation He does, and that's the foundation He lays for our lives. And He's laid it for my life. I come from a Christ-centered home. My dad was a practicing architect and a church planter. And my mom was a creative homemaker, involved in various women empowering ministries and in nurturing 5 of us. That's the picture you will see. So growing up in a family where I had 4 brothers was a preparation ground for what was to come. As a child, I could have been kidnapped from preschool. Another instance when I was probably 6 or 7 that I was about to get drowned in a pool. In all this, I realized God kept me for a purpose because He had a divine working in my, wanted to do something in life. And I saw His divine protection at every area. I encountered my first failure in 5th standard, and that was really a heartbreaking moment. I really didn't know how to face it, but my parents saw the situation through and looked at a change in school. The first day I walk into Dufton Corrie, I walk in with wide open arms of my teachers to welcome me, and I knew that this was the place God had for me. Failures do have a place in your life for turning things upside down. Ever since I have been seeing God's favor in the school, I studied, and teachers have been showing extra care and concern in my development. I accepted the Lord in my school days. Having completed my 10th and was looking at the group choices that I need to make, I think that was the first point when I was so confused and really didn't know what I have to do. I wanted the first group because I was very clear what I wanted to do in life. I either wanted architecture or home science. My dad was an architect and my mom had done home science. You give me either this or that. So I needed the first group, and the school said I didn't have enough marks for the first group. So, right in the dining room, I'm sitting there that morning. There was a song that was running there at home, and it said, I cast all my cares upon you. I lay all of my burdens down at your feet, and anytime I don't know what to do, I will cast all my cares upon you. That song meant so much to me, and I think that was the first time I had an encounter of God's divine leading in my life. I just cast it upon Him. I walk up to school, and they give me the first group in a divine way, which was not possible. After that, as I move on, choosing college, the day to pay the fees in WCC came up. I had only applied in two colleges. It was Anna University and WCC. Anna University for architecture, WCC for home science, and nothing else. My dad coolly walks up on that morning and says, "We will not pay the fees today at WCC. You will get at Anna University." I was anxious. How on earth can we just sit with one college? Because I don't want to miss another year. There are so many friends of mine who had applied for 5, 6 colleges. And here am I, so anxious and walking up to my room and saying, Lord, I want you to speak to me. I open up my Bible and He says, O ye of little faith. And I just said, Lord, you are in control. And I walk up and God just opened up architecture for me in Anna University. These are some minor instances, but it's God's way of impressing His imprint in my heart and sure that He directs our paths. Right from childhood, I have seen my dad practicing as an architect. Those days, only drawing boards were there, huge drawing boards. And he had amazing three-dimensional perspective skills, and I kept watching that. I helped him out with the rendering. I used to go in the night, sit with him, wash the paint brushes, and do the pen and ink rendering. He taught me how to hold the pen and do right in my childhood days. And that's when passion grew. I finished architecture from Anna University and immediately joined Dad's firm. Those were the years of mentoring, molding that my dad did to me to understand every aspect and facets of architecture. I was under his wings for 5 years, and when I was to move to my next phase of choosing my life partner, here comes my prince. God brought a perfect fit into my life, which I'm so grateful to God for. If not for that, I don't know where I would be. I think it was a perfect fit. I became a princess to my prince and moved to Bangalore. So joyful that I was leaving Chennai. And when I left Chennai, I said, no more practice of architecture. 5 years under Dad, seeing him, all that he was doing, and it was too much for me to take. And I leave Chennai in that aspect. I went to Bangalore. I was there for 6 months, and then I took up a job under an architect there. 3 months I worked, and then I got an increment, and there was so much of heads turned around. Everything was so perfect in our lives at Bangalore. We were enjoying each other so much. Our home, the place, the fellowship, the church, God's abundant provisions. Oh, what more you need? Everything was perfect. We were enjoying our lives there. But there was some restlessness within us. And that's when we had to sit at His feet and ask, God, what is it that we are missing out? What is it that you want us to do? We both were so passionate about buildings. Every trip that we went and came back, we would only just take photos of buildings, details, and everything. So we waited upon God and asked Him for a clear guidance. But we felt in our hearts God telling us to move back to entrepreneurship, to build lives through our profession. But I didn't want it. When I left Chennai, I said, I don't want to practice architecture because I've seen my dad go through everything. And I was very comfortable what I was doing in Bangalore. I said, Lord, without your word, I will not move an inch. God had a divine intervention in my quiet time. He spoke so powerfully to us, and He said, not by power, not by might, but by my spirit. That was the promise. That was the thing that made us to move forward. And that was a paradigm shift for us. With that confidence, with that word in our hands, we just stepped out in faith. This was the turnaround. When God pours out His plans, it is too much for us. We had to take a step in faith, one step at a time. I first had to quit my job and move to Chennai. Capstone was founded in 2010. When we're looking out for a space for having Capstone, Prince's parents opened up the terrace space for us, and we moved in 2012. And we built up 3 seats there. That was our faith. We only designed the space for 13 seats. Soon in 2017, we had to expand. 2022, we had to expand. This is nothing. This is nothing. But when God says by His Spirit, He does it. When I say this, we know we are so weak, so fragile, so incapable. But when we just surrendered ourselves totally to His Lordship, He entrusts so much beyond our capacities. It's quite overwhelming. Through this journey of 12 years, we have had deep mourning moments. We've had crushing times. We had pain that was groaning. I mean, we had sleepless nights as well. A time came when I wanted to quit architecture. In all this, I have seen God's abundant grace and strength, just sufficient for that particular day to press on and move. And when you just rely on God and just do what He calls you to do, it's such an amazing walk that you experience. It just cannot be expressed in words, but it can be felt. Today, I want to just ask in the audience, how many of you are in the construction field? Can you just rise up? Anybody in the engineering, civil engineering, architecture, can you just rise up? Can you stand up? Good. Can we all have the men sit? Can you give a hand of applause to the women out there? I really salute the women standing there. This is an industry where it's not easy for a woman. And as an architecture student, when I was studying, there was about 40 to 60% of girls in the college. But on ground, the reality is so different, so far from what you actually perceive. Where there are loads of men. Sometimes I'm in the site and there's so many men around me, and I'm just the one woman out there. And some of the times we have to climb, taking so much of risk. The ladder that is there would not be really safe enough, but you have to do it. You'll have to walk on the reinforcements. You'll have to stand on slopes. You'll have to just do whatever it calls you to do. And you see God's protection, and He gives you the courage. And I think that's amazing. When God calls you to do something, He is there in it. I will be missing out if I don't recognize the role of my 4 brothers who prepared me well to stand my ground in a male-dominated industry. They really prepared me in my childhood. In this journey, I have realized and been able to get a glimpse of God being the master architect of our lives. Each time you get a master plan to be put for a few acres of site, I'd put up the drawing sheet and then try to visualize how things can be done. Look at what is the functionality, what are the requirements, how does the whole circulation happen, how can the scale and proportion of the whole space be done, and look at the site dimensions and look at how details can be drawn up. And that's how God works. We actually don't see it, but He works. And that's the connection. So much on the drawing we do, and until it all comes onto the side, the reality you get to see only once it comes onto the site. And the end users have to just wait to see it. So many times I show many things in the drawings to the clients, and they really don't understand until it comes up on the site. So in our lives, there are so many twists, there are so many turns, there are so many blocks, the bruises along the way, but the end of it, we have to be assured that He is at work. I don't know at what point each of you are sitting here. Have you found your purpose, your call? If not, start having the conversations with God, asking Him to reveal, abiding in Him. What you think God can accomplish with your strength, write down and pray about it. And ask for His word to be your strong foundation, because that is your anchor. When the storm hits you, when doubts, fears, and questions arise, turning back to that promise, that verse, that song is what helps you press on. Are you sure of your calling? And having found your purpose, you're wondering, am I in the right place? Or are you waiting to take a step in faith? Are you in fear, not taking that step in faith? I am here to say, go ahead, take that step, and God takes 10 steps ahead of you. I encourage those of you who are going through difficult moments, just ensure that you are in His tight grip, He holding your hand, and keep running towards God. What He has entrusted onto your hands, He will give you the strength, and with His might, you will be able to do great and mighty things. With the foundation firmly established in God, your purpose is clear. The two important aspects are the pillars of integrity and excellence. Zig Ziglar says, integrity gives you a real freedom because you have nothing to fear since you have nothing to hide. If we do not set value boundaries for ourselves in marketplace, the temptations are heavy to fall. It comes right to the place you're sitting. Commissions are some things that have become a norm. There are plenty of compromises that happen at site. To instill the importance of integrity in execution at site, as business owners, integrity is something that we display in the way we treat our employees, our stakeholders, and this is a non-negotiable right from our inception. Perry Sexton says, excellence is in the details. Give attention to all the details. I remember Mom setting up the table for the guests. She used to do particular things about the details, likewise packing gifts and everything. And I've learned so much right from my childhood. And in essence, in doing all this, if we do everything as we do it unto the Lord, I think the first picture which comes onto the thing is about a bamboo table. A table can be just done with a plywood, but when you just clad it with the bamboo, that's the rustic theme and the excellence that it brings out. The second is a school that we designed with the restrooms, making it colorful and making it a lively place, comfortable for the school children. I'd like to leave back with some impact stories. Recently, I had been to Mumbai and I met a small girl in the church we attended. The girl gushed up with joy, and I was introduced to her as the architect of Christwood School. The memories and the blessed time she had in school were so vibrant through her smile. And then I knew I was a tool in God's mission. What more? Aren't we able to see the change in the lives of people? And the next was God asking me to move to Jharkhand. Sometimes the place that you go is really super risky path. This is the darkness in which you have to travel, and there are a lot of attacks happening on the road, and I'm traveling here all alone, not knowing the language, no cell phone connections, but God alone is my strength. And I think this is a center where the transformation happens to equip the Santal tribes, and they empower them with various skills. And that is a mission field. I realize God using me there. The call to press on is so much there with us. I think God has called each one of us to run the race faithfully, to live the mandate that God has laid in our lives is so important. We are the Bible's in our workplace. We are the ambassadors for Christ. We need to rise to be powerful influencers and nation shakers. As architects, we place a lot of value in building sustainably, creating built environments which are naturally lit and ventilated. The thought and effort we put into this results in better buildings, which in turn transforms lives of the people who use the buildings. We have a big role to play in being environmental stewards, steering families, communities, cities, and India at large to create a sustainable and responsible built environment. Going back to our basics of being in tune with Him, sensitive to the Spirit's leading at all times, being aware of the supernatural working of the Lord, claim it over your workplaces with His grace, favor, and strength. May we run the race faithfully. He who called us is faithful. He will never ever leave us nor forsake us. Thank you. God bless.
Uh, Thanks so much, Jerusha, for that wonderful talk. Just reminded that we see all of these names, they're like pillars, but today you're getting to see the foundation, what's behind the scenes, what no one else sees. And I'm sure those four brothers of yours were a big role. I'm part of four brothers, so I know what she went through in her formative years. So I'd like to request Joe and Betty to hand over the memento to Jerusha. She's married to Prince, and on the memento, we have nothing but Princess. As a reminder to them on their bedroom wall. Ladies and gentlemen, Jerusha.